Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope it's starting to feel like summer or spring, wherever you are in the country. We look forward to today's meeting, which I think today will be a Tech Hub Orama, as Matt called it in the AMCC update. So as always, we ask if you can please put your name and affiliation in the chat, and we will get started. Matt Bogosian, I pass the floor to you.
Thank you, Michelle. And as always, Michelle Burris, Century Foundation, one of AMCC's founding partners. Appreciate your continuing leadership and thank you. So as she said, yeah, we have for those that are new to the AMCC call, which has been going on for years, this 30-minute Monday call where stakeholders from public and private partnerships, come together and share best practices, and we have discussions by regions about what they're doing, opportunities and challenges that they're having in trying to strengthen their manufacturing ecosystem. Other Mondays, we have presentations from what we call BFS, Best Friends Forever, from federal agencies or private partners or nonprofit organizations, research organizations, and whatnot. So this is not one of those presentation days. This is a round robin day where we pick out a particular topic and discuss a little bit more depth what is happening that's crucial to strengthening the American project with the cornerstone of American manufacturing. So today is a round robin day, and we charted out Tech Hub Orama because the CHIPS and Science Act that got signed by President Biden last August had embedded within it a $10 billion tech hub competition for regions around the country, modeled after the IMCP initiative, which has led to all of this AMCC work. And there's a long thread of activity, and it's great to hear David Van Sicklen, our operations director, right now is at the National Academy of Sciences, where Sue Helper in the White House was talking about IMCP and its progeny, right? All these competitions, bottom-up competition programs, which, from our perspective, have been incentivized to help regions self-organize public-private partnerships to strengthen the manufacturing sector, create good jobs, for the long term. That's making things that solve problems is what I like to say, and so it's a great opportunity. There's a lot of stuff coming at our regional leaders. You guys are regional leaders. And so this call is in an attempt to have a further discussion. We've had several Monday meetings talking about the Tech Hub program. In fact, AMCC, thanks to you guys, AMCC had so much input from you guys that we responded. We don't respond to many of these federal government requests for information, but we did respond to the federal request for information on what ought to be the component parts of the Tech Hub program. So it's going to be coming out, as you all know, and David could drop into the chat, information about the Tech Hub program. And he could also, if you wouldn't mind, David, dropping into the chat, yeah, you did, you're ahead of me, our RFI response. And so you saw it was in the AMCC update, but there it is again, and we'll see what it's going to have in terms of criteria, right? We know that there are going to be, some criteria that distribute the designations for the Tech Hub program across the country. So there's some geographic diversity. And then, of course, this is much broader, than CHIPS. This is to all of the industrial, sectors, but we know that based on the White House reports that we've also reported on, 6 key manufacturing industries are important to strengthening the manufacturing ecosystem for the long term, and defense, agriculture, communications, IT, and health. So we know that that's in our RFI response. We also know what are the component parts of a thriving manufacturing ecosystem, and those are the big six, starting with workforce, but there are five other critical ones. But one of the things that we said in the RFI response to kick this off a conversation with you guys about like what's happening in your region is our hope that the Tech Hub program also helps strengthen regional backbone organizations. At least that's what we refer to, because this is complex science work, right? We're trying to put together and keep together regional coalitions that can take advantage of whatever interventions are out there. We have now a whole slew of federal interventions, right? That's cool, that's good. But states are getting into the game with state interventions. There's local government interventions. There's private sector interventions, as we've heard from our private partners here at Accenture on this call about what's going on in that area. We have from the Department of Treasury, SSBCI, which is trying to help the finance industry get into the game. And so this is tough work. Everyone feels, let's just stipulate up front that everyone feels insecure about where they are. You all are just occupying one perch of the ecosystem, trying to nudge it all together in a coherent fashion. So the question really is, what do you know about what is happening in your region, and what challenges and opportunities do you see coming to play? And this is not just EDA's Tech Hub program, because it relates to all the other ones, right? So the DoD Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program, I'm wondering myself, how are these things going to get integrated, if at all, at the regional level? We know, David, if you wouldn't mind, if you can, drop the competition right now for the Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program, right? That's happening right now. I think these should not be, in my judgment, to the extent that it's possible and a reason, they should not be mutually exclusive. It's about leveraging the resources of different federal interventions out there. So let's see. Stephanie Scott, I know you guys in the state of Washington have been looking at the Tech Hub program. Give us just a minute on what's happening there, and then we can people can raise their hand and chime in from their region what they know about what's happening there. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thanks, Matt, and it's a pleasure to be with you all today. Overall, I'm really excited personally about the Tech Hub program because it fits so well with this Innovation Cluster Accelerator program we've been building over the past 2 years, and that had its genesis with the Maritime Blue Innovation Cluster. And overall, we're continuing to build out that industry-led innovation cluster model, trying to leverage these big federal investments, but not getting distracted from what we're building for the long term, because we're really confident that this innovation cluster model that's been widely adopted throughout the world can really be a powerful force in bringing technology out of the lab, resulting in growing new companies and creating new jobs, with that overall goal that matches the Tech Hub goal to accelerate regional economic development. So, Matt, I really echo your hopes for the Regional Tech Hub program, and I would just say that we've got 3 groups in particular, one centered around composites and additive manufacturing, particularly in our aerospace sector, a group around advanced nuclear reactor technology, really looking at the Hanford site and kind of the clean up to clean tech model. And then the largest tech association in the United States looking at either quantum or blockchain. And where we're at right now is kind of waiting to see. All these folks are still working, they're still building, they're actively building their strategies, figuring out their project pipeline. And if the Tech Hub program is a fit for it, they're ready to go. If it's not, we're also considering other funding opportunities that might be a better option if EDA doesn't implement the statute in the way that we're hoping. So some of the things that we've done is bring in our regional EDA rep to do a workshop for all of our stakeholders to talk about some of the regional programs that can also fund this work. They're finding that folks aren't applying for a lot of those programs. And then we've had some conversations with NSF about some of their programs. So still have that North Star on, we're going to fight to get a tech hub here in Washington State in our region, working with cross-state partners, but also baking some flexibility into that. So we're not just going after a program to go after it, making sure that it fits that like long-term strategy that we're building.
Thanks, Stephanie. That's great input. And, you know, one of the things that comes out in all of your just good points in there is the planning for a backup plan. You know, how do you pivot all of the good hard work that's necessary to put together a consortia into something, you know, a subsequent activity? I know Tulinda Larson's on the call from Utah. I know that they've done that with the Build Back Better Regional Challenge designations, for example, that they, you know, got one of the 60 finalist ones, but then, you know, they didn't get the ultimate one, you know, the bigger funded one. So they pivoted that into another program. So thank you for sharing what's happening in the state of Washington. I see Petra Mitchell in Western Pennsylvania, where we're hoping to stop at one of our roadshows coming up. What's happening out there, Petra?
Wow, Matt. Hi, everybody. I was just reflecting on, you know, IMCP. We were one of the original, we were in the second round as an IMCP. That was back in 2015, which I can't even believe how long that is. But I think that was really pivotal to Southwestern Pennsylvania. That introduced us to the Appalachian Regional Commission. So I realized that's a more regional funding opportunity, not like EDA, which is national. But with ARC now, you know, we're on our 7th round of Power Funds, which is a program that they have for coal impacted communities, and currently working on a new program to expand our community. So our community has generally been Southwestern Pennsylvania. I'm in Pittsburgh, so that's the heart of that, and West Virginia. And we are now getting the opportunity to expand that into a 5-state community, the 5 states around Pennsylvania. And the focus there is around what we're calling a clean energy and manufacturing initiative, which is focused twofold. One, primarily, the number one objective is to help our manufacturers in this 5-state region, of which there's about 10,000 companies, to help them get ready for all this federal funding that's coming down the pike, you know, to be in those supply chains. So the Infrastructure Act, Inflation Reduction Act, all the manufacturing tax credits, we think there's going to be a lot of new manufacturing getting started. And all of that is going to need a supply chain. And our mantra is, you know, why not buy it here? Why not make it here? You know, we make it here. Buy American, buy Appalachian is kind of what we're talking about. And so we're going to use this new funding opportunity to help our manufacturers prepare for that. And part of that has to do with all the things we've already done, you know, around productivity and workforce and those things. But part of it is also around their own clean energy journey and decarbonization strategies and long-term sustainability strategies. We know that for a lot of these companies to participate, let's say in an electric vehicle supply chain, they themselves are going to have to demonstrate some level of progress around a decarbonization strategy. And we're hopeful to get that all started under this new program. So I would say that's probably the newest thing we have going on.
Can you say a little bit more, Petra, about the multiple initiative over the years dynamic and how that helps? Because it's a big burden to those herding, all of you herding the cats, right? You know, your public and private partners to come up together to pitch, you know, these you know, for these federal or state or regional, you know, interventions. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it does take some effort to, you know, develop proposals, develop consortiums, all those kinds of things. But on the positive side, I think one builds on the other. So that's something we've been able to do is leverage one program right into the next program. You know, so if we're doing, you know, 3 programs ago, we were focused on the shale industry. So Southwestern Pennsylvania has, you know, one of the world's largest deposits of natural gas. and there's a need for suppliers for that industry. So we started there. We were able to branch that out into clean energy, and now we're branching that out again, like I mentioned earlier, into all these new supply chains. So I think the key is, as you're going, building your program and going from one funding stream to another, to be able to demonstrate how they all kind of leverage each other, fit together around some common theme that you're working on for your community. That's worked for us for sure.
Thanks, Petra.
Yeah.
I see Zoraida in Florida. We had a nice conversation. We're hoping to have a visit down in Florida and learn about how consortia are coming together there. Zoraida, did you want to speak to what is happening, if anything, on the Tech Hub program or these kinds of consortia, the Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program? There's a lot of these, interventions out there, and Mike Aller's on here too from Florida. Do you guys want to give some experience about what you're seeing and, challenges as well as good opportunities?
Sure, Matt, thank you. I think, there's different groups across the state that are trying to leverage funds. We're doing our best to kind of stay connected with all of them and make sure that we're leveraging each other's resources, et cetera. Mike is a little bit more in tune with those processes. He works with our state partners. We applied for the Defense Manufacturing Communities a couple years ago, and were key in helping the state draft that proposal. They're going through some changes now, so we're kind of in a waiting game. Our legislature just adjourned, and they are basically revamping what used to be called the Department of Economic Opportunity to now be the Department of Commerce, and things are kind of moving around. But Mike has been in touch with those partners and more in tune with, I think, what other funding opportunities Florida is trying to pursue. So Mike, if you're probably better at providing.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll be one to say, there are great opportunities, and we are trying to figure out ways to, link and leverage the different partners who are working on different aspects. There's also, unfortunately, I would say potentially even kind of a crowding out effect, where we're seeing that there are so many different opportunities happening that some of the partners, and especially even at the state level, are having a challenge sort of sifting through some of them, and we're trying to help them do that. But, for example, there's been a lot of activity, a lot of conversation around the CHIPS Act and what's happening with semiconductors and where we're going there. At the same time, you have tech hubs, and you have defense manufacturing communities, and you have the energy opportunities, whether it's the state manufacturing leadership or any of the myriad other clean energy things that are coming out. And for those that are working on manufacturing, kind of being able to focus and engage on specific ones, and kind of differentiating between what a state manufacturing leadership program, for example, would do versus what a Tech Hub program would do. There's a lot of communication, a lot of education that's going on here, and as Zoraida had mentioned, there's a lot of other things that are sort of moving parts and pieces to this too. So we're in the process of leveraging what we can, and working with a number of partners. There is a coalition that's working on some of the CHIPS Act activity. There's a different coalition that's looking at some of these other things. But it is very much kind of a work in progress in terms of rack stacking and prioritizing where resources are going and different activities are happening.
Thank you, Mike, and I appreciate Zoraida. I appreciate both of your kind of candid view of the challenge, right? And it's never going to go away, this challenge, right? It's capacity. How do you leverage resources? That's why we're working on this metrics project. That's one of the things that we called for, in our IRFI response on the Tech Hub program, is that we need, regional leaders like you all need better tools to help prioritize the interventions, and then also, nudge your partners. Those metrics can be a tool to nudge your partners to say, hey, let's play more. I see Beatrice from Connecticut. Hi. Do you want to give a nutshell of what you see happening up there? Oh, we can't hear you. Yeah. Actually, it's very quiet, Beatrice. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's Carmen. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Beatrice is having a little bit of a difficulty over there with her sound. We've been going back and forth. So I'm just going to hop in here, Beatrice, and you could, if that's okay. Here in Connecticut, we like a lot of you, we're really looking at all of the opportunities that are coming our way and trying to really align, looking at strategic alignment with those opportunities for our strategy here in the state and where we want to go with our industry. So really trying to determine where do we have strategic alignment, where can we drive impact at scale, and what's the right funding opportunities to bring us there, right? So some of the points that Stephanie had made earlier, right, that the state is pursuing a particular area of work and just looking at what's the right partners to bring us to a successful place, So for us here in Connecticut, obviously we are looking very closely at the Tech Hub. We're looking at the DMCSP, which we already had a designation, but looking at the being redesignated, as well as the State Manufacturing Leadership Program through DOE. So those are three that have been kind of on our radar right now, and trying to leverage a lot of the work that has been done in the past from our IMCP designation to our defense designation, and even to some of the other grants that we've received throughout the years around innovation, and making sure that we are leveraging that foundational work and the ecosystem partners and building upon that for manufacturing. Obviously, our MEP with Concept is a critical partner in that, along with some key academic partners and industry leaders. We are going to really try to leverage the DMCSP work around model-based definition and looking at that, and leveraging our key industry players and the supply chain, but bringing that to a very broad base, potentially looking at that area of work. So, but right now, like Michael had said, some of the stuff is crowding out some other key funding opportunities. So we're really trying to be smart about the way we approach these opportunities to make sure that it is in alignment with the state strategy, number one, and most importantly, that our mission is meeting the mission of that funder, and then taking it to bring the right consortium partners to the table, and in particularly having industry lead the conversation and lead us to what really is the right impact that we want to be able to go after. So that's kind of a broad brush of where we are. I hope that, Beatrice, I hope I met everything. Okay.
Thanks to you both. How about in Chicagoland, Christine Napo? I know you guys got a defense designation. What do you see happening on the Tech Hub program? Is a lot of folks in your regional consortia looking at that, and what are you seeing?
My camera doesn't work. I'm sorry. We are awaiting the NOFO. I mean, our partner on the Build Back Better proposal, which was MHub, led our coalition of 18, just recently received $50 million funding to expand. So they're really looking to grow, and I think that this will help as we regroup and get that original team together to pursue the Tech Hub opportunities once they come out. And then we'll see how that leverages with our DMC designation, which is focused on casting, forging, and stamping, because that's where our regional strength lies, as it reflects the DoD's needs in the most recent report, and gave us last year's designation. So we're trying to put all of those pieces together, and very interested to see what the NOFO says and how we can tie some of our work together.
Well, thank you, Christine. And to everybody, we're going to be, continue to track this. We'll have this continuing conversation. And, this goes on, Mike, to your point, this goes on in ad infinitum, forever, right? I mean, this is complex system science. We've now starting to get our arms around, the efficacy of the interventions that we make, is that there's going to be increasingly more causation that we can show. And that's, David Van Sicklen is at the National Academy of Sciences. They're looking at this very closely. A lot of players are looking at it, and it's early days, but you guys are pioneers, in doing this work, and we're grateful, to have a perch in the work too. I mean, to help be the connective tissue. Zoraida, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Matt. I guess as David and you are kind of doing your rounds or one of these events where you're engaging with folks from the White House or DOD or, other BFFs, if you will, I wanted to give you a piece of maybe a little bit of selfish feedback, but I think other MEPs on the call would appreciate it. I think that sometimes these agencies, and it happened with DOD for us, but it would be great if every agency could do this, is a couple, and I think they still have this funding, but a couple of years ago, DOD had funding for states to do cybersecurity outreach around CMMC, right? And one of their target industries was manufacturing, obviously. And so when they put out the opportunity, one of the things they made sure, at least in our case with the state of Florida, was that the state knew that if they were going to get, if DOD was going to give this money to the state, that the state had to use the resources of the MEP to deliver on the promise on, whatever it was that DOD wanted. And so that is, to me, if these agencies could make sure that they highlight the resources that already exist in the states, like the MEP program that's being funded with federal dollars, and kind of somehow force the state partners in a way, in saying, look, here's some extra money to do CMMC outreach. But by the way, there's an entity who we already give, another federal agency gives money to do this type of outreach that you should be working with and collaborating with. So I don't know how long it would take to get every agency to kind of highlight the different programs in each state that are already being funded by the federal, with federal dollars, but in an effort to kind of, not be wasteful of taxpayer dollars, if you will, is making sure.
No, it's a great point, Zoraida. And, as we, get closer to our Florida visit, if you look at that, our RFI response, one of the things, that our RFI response is, I think, something that we're going to continue to build off of, right? What are, how do we want these bottom-up interventions, for lack of a better label, what do we want to have in them? One of the things that we put in our RFI response is about, tactics like this. We didn't cite a tactic like that, but I'd like to capture that example of a tactic that can make these things, have greater success. I mean, the good news is when you look at a list of people that show up on this call, we have folks from all kinds of agencies, federal agencies that are, leading these interventions. Very exciting to see DOE and Commerce and Department of Defense and others, participating in these calls. And so folks are listening. Like I said, David Van Sicklen is at the National Academy of Sciences. Everyone's looking at these regional interventions as an important tactic, to strengthening our manufacturing cornerstone of the economy. So thank you for sharing that. I'll follow up with you, Zoraida, to make sure that we capture that effectively, and want to thank everyone for being on the call. This is a continuing discussion. You know how to reach me and David and each other. There, you know, there's an email list at the bottom of the AMCC update, so you can reach folks. If there's any errors or, you know, things that we ought to add to that, let us know. We look forward. Let me send it back to Michelle to close out the meeting.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just echoing Matt, thank you all for your transparency, your candidacy, and I think this will be really helpful, especially as we interact more with agencies. So really appreciate it, and thank you, Zoraida, for just helping us to keep more things in perspective too when we have those conversations. So wishing everyone a wonderful week, and we hope to see you back at the same time next Monday. If you are a motherly figure